My name is Jacob Pinnell, and this is Faithful Fatherhood. Today, we're bringing in an updated guide to screen time. We're looking at the 5 C's from the American Academy of Pediatrics for raising kids in a digital world. So let me paint a picture for you. You've walked in from work. The 7-year-old's on the iPad, the 12-year-old is buried into YouTube, and a teenager is locked into their phone, and they have been since breakfast. The thought that you were probably having and that I've had all the time is, I'll address it here in just a minute, and it ends up being right after you check your own notifications. So the problem that the American Academy of Pediatrics has noticed is we've inherited this outdated, trying to be one size fits all rule of a 2-hour screen time limit. And that was fine when screens were rather limited, but now screens are everywhere. They're in school, they're in friendships, and they're even in downtime. So, the American Academy of Pediatrics has opened up their research and come up with these 5 C's for a good principal. One of the keys before I get to those 5 C's is a basic question change. Beforehand, we were asking how much time should my kids spend on screens? And they came up with the answer 2 hours. And that's still a pretty good answer for certain age groups. So you'll see that pop up again. But instead of using this kind of one size fits all rule approach, that let's change our questions to what are our screens for and at what cost? So instead of being a clock, it's more of a compass or a map to help us figure out what we're doing for our own kids. So the 5 C's of media use right here. Number one is child. Who's your child? And how did they respond to media? Number two, content. What is actually worth their attention? Number three, calm. Are they using media to regulate emotions? Number four, crowding out. What real world activities is media displacing? Are they choosing to play online instead of playing outside with their friend down the street? Something is lost when we're not face to face. So we need to pay attention to what media is crowding out. Number five, communication. Are you actively talking about it? We had a conversation just last night about media, and I'll tell you that story later. So, to help you kind of put these into a framework, let's look at how they can kind of play out in each stage of life that the American Academy of Pediatrics has kind of located out. The first one of those is the infant stage, or 0 to 18 months. And that's how we're going to break down the rest of the stages is by year. In reality, screens offer infants almost nothing. They learn from faces, voices, and human interaction. So the danger there is scrolling your phone during feedings or floor time. That crowds out the exact connection your baby's brain is hungry for. They're watching how you engage with the world. So the dad move or practical step, I'm going to give you one for each age, is to designate daily screen-free stretches. Put the phone in another room during feedings is one of the easiest ones you can do. So the kids are going to get messy and you might want to take pictures of them, but instead stay locked in. One of the most beautiful things you can do for your child is when they're looking at you, look back at them. They're studying you. That's your opportunity to study them back. Ask the question, wonder at them. What are they thinking about? Because your child is wondering exactly what you're thinking about. And if you're locked in on them, they're going to guess. Our brains are hardwired to guess that that you're thinking about them just as they're thinking about you. That's a powerful connection. Don't miss that opportunity. I nearly did with our youngest. I did much better with our oldest and our middle child. And it's something that I've been working on myself since those times. The next stage is that 2 to 4 years. And the real danger here is navigating the digital pacifier. And let me tell you, I'm just as guilty as anyone else. I've been on phone calls or meetings where I just have to turn on YouTube or Paw Patrol or Bluey or something to get my kids entertained and locked in on something so I can get a bit of work done here. The trick here is the trick here is to start thinking about the algorithms. So, autoplay is not your friend. You would think it's your friend, especially when you're in those meetings, but instead choose a longer, maybe stretch of movie or something like that, or curate a list. Autoplay is driven by algorithms. Algorithms are not our friend because they're designed to extract value from us. The way they do that is by keeping our attention so that the companies that are building these algorithms can make money. So if their goal is to make money, that means they're extracting value from us. Don't let companies extract value from your children. So turn autoplay off. That's your pro tip, and curate a list of something. If it's YouTube and it's like something wonderful like Dude Perfect, my kids are way into Dude Perfect right now. Don't let them endlessly scroll Dude Perfect. There's good stuff there. Those guys have a ton of fun. They shoot great trick shots. They great YouTube programming. Don't let it run for 6 hours. Don't let it run for 3 hours. Set a limit on it and then send your kids out. You be in control, not the algorithms. So, what you be in control, not the algorithms. So pay attention to when you're handing your kids media. Is it with intention and then you're getting them off of it? Or is it something different? One of the great things that I love when my kids were really in this stage is watching Bluey. Bluey has those like 8-minute episodes. And if you autoplay, you can watch an hour and a half of Bluey. It's really easy. But if you turn autoplay off, it's going to give you just a moment in between episodes to where you could go, what if we played that episode or did something like that episode or did something like the parents did in that episode? Bluey is a fountain of ideas for ways to play with your kids. They're also 8-minute episodes and super easy to autoplay through. So turn off autoplay, make a playlist, figure it out. Give yourself a chance to control what your kids are watching rather than letting companies extract value from your children. The third group is that 5 to 10 years old age group. So this is that elementary kids, and they tend to be rules-based thinkers. Oh man, I can tell you my third grader is right in that window. So this is the optimal window to build habits before they get into teenage adolescence. Both of my kids have brought home their laptops from their public school. So digital media and digital presence are something that they're dealing with at school right now. So give them some rules, actually. Don't let media crowd out otherwise formative moments in their childhood. So here's your dad trick on this one. Use common sense media to curate content together. Remember, they're watching you. So if you scroll while they're talking, they'll learn that habit. This is the rules-based stage and age. So instead of letting them curate all by themselves or letting you curate all by yourself, choose to do media together. Play video games together. The Wii was great for this. The Nintendo Switch or Switch 2 is still great for this playing together type of atmosphere. It's a great idea. This is not a don't use screens at all time period. This is a use screens with intention time period. So what are you building on? Of course, the American Academy of Pediatrics is very concerned about sleep because screen time can become actively costly if their screen use is not decreased around their sleep. This is that 10 to 14-year-old stage. And really, this is when their identity is at stake. 12-year-olds are asking us, their friends, and unfortunately, the algorithm Am I normal? And social media and the algorithm is all too happy to provide thousands and thousands of answers to this question. And it all becomes algorithmically curated and points to and will end up pointing to a specific answer to that question. They'll figure it out. The trick is to make sure you're in charge of answering that question because our kids are worth so much more to us than what the algorithm tells them they are. So the tricky part of this is when your kids are going to start hiding online mistakes because their fear your first move will be confiscating their phone. And their phone is their gateway to their friends and digital world. Now, sometimes you have to take the phone away. Yes, but we have to be a little bit more conscious about what we're doing because we're really cutting them out of their social circles. Did I get grounded as a kid and therefore get cut out of my social circle? Absolutely. Does that mean that we should probably do the same to our kids with their phones? Yes, if the situation warrants it, but just beware what's going to be happening in their minds as you take away their phone. They're going to sense it something different. So here's your dad move, your tip. Phones and gaming devices out of the bedroom at night. Protect their sleep and mood. Ask open questions and resist the urge to immediately fix or lecture. So what we have is we have a laptop down at our kitchen table where we eat dinner. Our kids have access to that laptop. It's harder for them to make mistakes, and it's a lot easier for them to ask a question since I'm constantly in the kitchen cooking or the other kids are around. And so that really opens up the world to them and to us as a family so that they're still connected and rooted in something that tells them that they're loved. This is also the stage where we're going to move from, as teachers call it, a sage on the stage to a guide at the side. So, a sage on the stage has all the answers. They're going to fix all your problems. A guide at the side might let you fail, but they're also going to pick you back up again and keep you moving along. So this final stage is that 15 to 17-year-old stage where they're probably getting their permit, their driver's license, and this is when they're going to be almost out of the house. If you were here last week, we talked about a Goofy movie and how Goofy moves to this kind of influencer stage with his son Max as he's entering this same time period. The reality is older teens are moving toward independence. They need help thinking, not just complying. So, how do they discern what works in this world? How do they make those habits kind of like go, oh, this habit leads to this outcome. And if I change this habit, I can change this outcome. Not a rules based, I need to comply, but rather, oh, I see how these two things are connected and fit together. So this is where you can really start to teach them how platforms are designed to maximize screen time. Remember, these companies are mining our kids with algorithms. So the trap here is beware. Your teenager is finely tuned to detect hypocrisy. If you enforce phone rules, but check yours under the table, they're going to notice and call you on it. Or they're going to notice and then think your rule isn't actually a rule. So here's your tip. Co-viewing. Watch shows and ask for their feedback on your own device habits. I have a friend who for Lent this year got what I believe it's called a brick, and it makes his phone like shut off except for emergency calls. That brick was for Lent was something his oldest son, who's in this age range, actually suggested. So he's getting challenged by his own son to put his own phone away. I mean, how cool is that to get to grow with your kids? Not only are you getting closer to them, but they're getting closer to you. And so this stage is really more about less limits and more digital literacy and shared conversation. And that's how you really increase your limits. Now, faithful fathers know to value this long game and formation over rules in the end. Don't just be the phone police, be the dad they still call in their 30s. The five C's are about attention, formation, and of course, the long game of character. How kids handle boredom, stress, and honesty are shaped by thousands of small decisions in ordinary moments. So if you feel like you've messed up, guess what? Now's the time to change that. That's great. No parental control app can replace a father's presence and willingness to have hard conversations. So, to have those hard conversations, I'm going to give you 3 tools to put in your toolkit here. The first one is to review the 5 C's frameworks. Those are child, content, calm, crowding out, and communication. You're in control here. You have some ability to change the situation, to influence it, and use your authority to change the outcomes and create the relationship you want with your kids. A second one, if you're looking for an age specific tip sheet, those are available at aap.org/social media. Again, you can find the links in the description here. Finally, I'm going to offer you a free media plan. This is through healthychildren.org. I actually went through and filled out this tool earlier this week, and it was amazing to me, both where I'm succeeding and failing. I'm failing right before my kids get home from school. My youngest tends to wake up from nap, and I tend to scroll while he watches YouTube. And then my kids get home, and we're kind of off to the races, and I tend to do better from there. But one of the wins I had this week was last night we were having a conversation, and 3 out of the 5 of us wanted to Google the answer. And I said, no, we're not going to do phones at the table because that has long been our rule is we don't do phones or devices at the table unless it's a specific, special kind of circumstance. So again, it's not a no, never. It's a when the situation merits it. And so my wife actually claimed victory in the argument because we couldn't Google it. And I was happy to lose that battle to win the war of keeping screens out of our table and out of our dinner time. With the increased travel and mobility that we're experiencing as a family, it's really important that when we have a chance to sit down and be together, we actually take advantage of that time. So, wins, losses, so wins, losses, there's a whole lot of room for growth here. And I thought I'd help you update your thinking maybe a little bit from this 2 hour screen time, the idea of a watch. How much time do I need? A simple question, I know, but to what's it for and what's it cost, which is a lot more of like a map and a compass kind of navigating your way through these digital spaces. Next week, we're going to look into 2 of my favorite books on the subject. That's My Tech-Wise Life, or that's The Tech-Wise Family, written by Andy Crouch. This was an older book written several years ago, so some things are outdated, but the principles in a lot of ways still hold. And then the second book is My Tech-Wise Life, written by his daughter. So you'll get the chance to see both the principle from the parents' view and how it actually played out in the daughter's view, whether it worked, whether it didn't work, what was good, what was bad. And you know what? You can choose for yourself, because that's one of the beautiful things about these 5 C's is you get to choose what character you're going to build for your child. As always, my name is Jacob Pennell. Thank you for joining me. This is Faithful Fatherhood. I'll see you next time.